Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2025 Western Gunslingers. The film is written and directed by Brian Skiba and it stars Stephen Dorff, Heather Graham, Nicolas Cage. We have Cooper Barnes, Jeremy Kent Jackson, Costas Mandylor and Scarlett Rose Stallone. Yes, that is the daughter of Sylvester Stallone. Right, okay, the film focuses on Stephen Dorff's character, Thomas Keller. He is an outlaw, and at the beginning of the film that he commits a crime, someone ends up getting killed, his brother gets seriously injured, and he ends up on the run. And he runs all the way to a town called Redemption. Now, this town is special. It's full of ex-outlaws that have renounced their violent pasts, faked their deaths, and try and live in this town in peace. So Thomas ends up basically living there. He's quite happy, and one day his brother, who he thought was dead, turns up with 100 men demanding that his brother is returned to him for the reward. The town basically band together, refuse, and then it essentially becomes all-out war between the people of the town of Redemption and the gang of 100 men who are determined to take them in. Right, what are my thoughts on Gunslingers? Well, I saw the trailer for this one a couple of months ago. I mean, there's a couple of things that got me immediately interested in this film. Number one, I like westerns. So I'm a sucker generally for a half decent looking western that's coming out, because we don't really get that many these days. And I'm a big fan of Nicolas Cage. I generally will give anything a watch that he's in, whether it be good or bad. I generally find the good in him or his performance in what is generally regarded as a bad film. So I was on board for this one. I was always going to watch this one when it came out, and it's got a very I don't know what you would call it really, familiar story, I suppose, for a western. You know, it's a bit like, it's a Rorke's Drift stroke Magnificent Seven style format here. You know, you've got these people in this town Redemption holed up and trying to fight off superior numbers of, you know, people who are trying to take them down. So it's nothing you haven't seen before, really, in regards to the story here. That it's not going to get any prizes for originality, this film. But what it does do is kind of deliver on that you would expect from this film. There were no real surprises here. You know, the gunplay is all of a decent standard in a film like this. The gunfights are, you know, reasonably exciting. I think one of the biggest issues, well, there's a few issues with this film. Because needless to say, well, I'm going to say I do think there are some things in this film that make it watchable if you quite like middling budgeted westerns, you know, to lower budgeted westerns. It does have some elements that are going for it, as I've mentioned, the gunfights and things like that. It's got quite a few things as well that just don't really work here. For example, you've got these 100 men that turn up to this town and demand Stephen Dorff's character to be released into their custody, and the only one who's got a face really is Jeremy Kent Jackson's character, who plays Stephen Dorff's brother in the film. Everybody else, and I mean everybody else that he's got with him, are all faceless cowboys, and they all seem to be dressed exactly the same. It's very, very odd, so that when the shooting starts, and inevitably when you know, these outlaws in Redemption start shooting down these 100, you know, men that have come to the town, they're just faceless cowboys getting killed and slaughtered, who are all dressed in the same thing. It kind of reduces the excitement a bit. I mean, at least give, you know, the guy who plays Stephen Dorff's brother, give him a couple of like badass lieutenants or something, anything to make him and his gang feel a bit more menacing. I mean, it were literally like shooting fish in a barrel for these outlaws. The only disadvantage they had really was that they were massively outnumbered. Beyond that, you know, as I've said, they were like shooting fish in a barrel. So you've got that really that I think drags the film down a little bit. You've got as well, I mean, Heather Graham plays a character called Val. She follows Stephen Dorff's character to this town, Redemption, and she's got a little girl with her. Obviously, she's got a history in the past with Stephen Dorff's character. She doesn't offer much to the film, if I'm honest, other than damsel in distress type stuff. They don't give her character anything interesting to do, really, here. And the same, really, with a lot of these outlaws. You don't learn much about them, about their past, their histories, you know, their crimes or anything like that. We don't learn a great deal about them. And then we come to Nicolas Cage. And now, as I've said, Nicolas Cage is one of my favourite actors. I think he's fabulous. I love his creativity, his approach to his character development. You know, each film almost feels like a new adventure to him. But I have to be honest here. His performance here was a bit odd and a bit weird. It just didn't work for me. He plays this outlaw who has found Jesus. So therefore he won't shoot. He won't kill anymore. He won't even carry a gun. And he talks with this really raspy voice. And I don't know, his choices for this character for me didn't work. There's a couple of moments in the film where he's like quoting religious text or screaming out for Jesus and things, and it was a bit cringy. I'm not going to lie. I just don't think that his character worked in this film. Now, don't get me wrong. When you finally get that moment, and it's not a spoiler because you see it in the trailer, when you finally get that moment where he decides to kick a bit of ass, it's pretty cool. I liked it. But beyond that, and to be fair, he's not really what you would describe as a major character here. Stephen Dorff is carrying this film, and then you've got Heather Graham. You know, you've got other characters above Nicolas Cage in this. Nicolas Cage, if you like, is another ingredient sprinkled into the element of this film, and it's a unique and interesting character choice that the character choices that he comes up with here. But as I've said, it felt a bit odd and a bit cringy now and again, some of his decisions with his character development, I suppose. But like I say, if you like these, you know, middle of the road type westerns, you know, that haven't got a massive budget to them, but, you know, have got traditional western stories, you know, the clear good guy, bad guy scenarios, and you like that whole idea of like Rorke's Drift or, you know, Magnificent Seven, you know, where people are being taken out and, you know, you're against massive numbers, you know, you're being overwhelmed with numbers and you've got to try and come out on top. This film has kind of all of that, but just be warned, it's nothing particularly special. And even, like I say, the names in this film can't really save this one, if that's the right word. But, you know, I mean, I've seen the score for this one on IMDb. I think that's a bit harsh, a bit low, in my opinion. It's very, very average, I agree, but it isn't, you know, horrifically bad or anything like that. So, which is why I've given it the score I've given it. So, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.